to first talk to Gerald about teaching on Zionism, but then I saw what Ross and Ed had already done in terms of preparation, and y'all are much better off with those two in 2 weeks than me trying to throw something together for Zionism. But next week it will be really interesting. I hope you'll come back. It's Messianic Judaism, which is really, I've learned over the last several weeks, fascinating, and I can't wait to tell you about that. So I kind of pivoted today and was like, well, what can I do on February 11th? And guess what Wednesday is? So we're going to do St. Valentine and other well-known saints. This is a representation of St. Valentine, but as we will soon find out, is it really? Question mark. So with that, Gerald's running the screen, and so we're going back and forth. So we're going to watch a quick little video about St. Valentine.
You're in a conversation and someone asks, "Where did Valentine's Day come from?" What would you say? Every 14th of February, we celebrate Valentine's Day by exchanging cards, going out for candlelit dinners, and sharing special moments. Though the holiday is now primarily focused on romantic love, it originated as a feast day for a Christian saint. Some details about the life of St. Valentine are uncertain. The tricky part for historians is that early Christian sources mention 3 different Valentines, all of whom died on February 14th. But it's likely that the 2 main Valentines were actually a single person. Although there are varying accounts of his life, there is consensus regarding a basic outline. So the next time someone asks you who St. Valentine was, here are 3 things to remember. Number 1. Valentine prayed for God to heal the blind daughter of a Roman judge, and God did. Valentine lived as a Christian priest in Italy in the mid-200s AD, during the decline of the Roman Empire. As pagans, it was common for the Romans to blame misfortunes on Christians who had failed to give the pagan gods their due. Valentine refused to pray to the pagan gods and was put under house arrest by a judge named Asterius. While under arrest, Valentine began having conversations with Asterius about who Jesus was. Asterius' daughter was blind, and so he challenged Valentine, saying that if Jesus could give his daughter her sight again, he would believe. Valentine prayed, and Asterius' daughter was healed. When he saw this miracle, Asterius repented and was baptized along with every member of his household. He also released Valentine and all the other Christians he had imprisoned. Although reports are inconsistent about some parts of Valentine's life, there is complete consensus among the records that this miraculous healing happened and that Asterius converted because of it. Number 2. Valentine was arrested a second time because he evangelized pagans and helped Christians. After the healing of Asterius' daughter, Valentine continued evangelizing. According to some sources, he also began secretly marrying Christian couples and aiding persecuted Christians. Both actions were illegal in Rome at the time. Marrying Christian couples was especially dangerous because married men couldn't be drafted into the Roman army, which did not make the weakening Roman Empire very happy. But Valentine didn't stop, and according to one source, he would even cut out heart shapes from parchment and give them to newlywed couples so that they would be reminded of their vows and God's love for them. These courageous actions were seen as a threat, and Valentine was arrested a second time and sent to Claudius II, the prefect of Rome. Number 3. Valentine was martyred on February 14th. Claudius took a liking to his prisoner Valentine's charismatic personality and conversed with him, even though he didn't agree with his Christian beliefs. However, Valentine couldn't keep the gospel to himself. He tried to convert Claudius, which was too much for the prefect, and he ordered Valentine's execution. On February 14th, 269 AD, Valentine was ferociously beaten with clubs, and when that didn't kill him, he was led outside the city gates and beheaded. The church established February 14th as a feast day to commemorate his entrance into heaven. The holiday has morphed over the years. Sometime in the Middle Ages, it became associated with romantic love. In 1969, the church took St. Valentine's Day off the liturgical calendar because of the uncertainties about parts of his biography, particularly the period between his two arrests. But the paper hearts and the symbols of love continue year by year. It is said that one of Valentine's final letters before his execution was sent to Asterius's daughter. With her renewed sight, she would have seen his signature at the end, which read, "Your Valentine." So the next time someone asks, who was Saint Valentine and why do we celebrate him on February 14th? Remember these 3 things. Number 1, Valentine prayed for God to heal the blind daughter of a Roman judge.
Okay, so that's a really cute story, isn't it? It like wraps it all up with a nice ribbon and it's like makes total sense, and 90% of it's probably not true. So we can go to the next slide. As it said in the video, it was a feast holiday for the Catholic Church, Saint Valentine, and then in 1969, the church took it off the calendar because there was probably not just 1 or 2 Valentines, and those stories that you heard are an amalgamation of several different stories, and might not have even been Valentine might not have even been the name of the person that did this. But it's thought that this Valentine, that the original Valentine was a real person who died around AD 270, but his true identity was questioned as early as 496 by Pope Gelasius, who referred to the martyr and his acts as being known only to God. So, we have to take that whole video with a little bit of a grain of salt, although a lot of the story comes down through history as true. One account from the 1400s describes Valentine as a temple priest who was beheaded near Rome by the Emperor Claudius. She said he was beaten. This says he was beheaded for helping Christian couples wed. Again, that was in the video. A different account claims that Valentine was the Bishop of Terni, martyred by Claudius II on the outskirts of Rome. And because of the similarities of these accounts, so you can't be beheaded, you can't be 2 different people beheaded for the same thing by the same person. They thought they might, anyway, nobody really knows. So enough confusion surrounds the true identity that the Catholic Church discontinued veneration in 1969. But luckily for Hallmark, it has remained it's a holiday for the rest of us. And we go to the next one, Jill. The official Roman Catholic roster of saints shows about a dozen Valentines. Or some variation thereof. Valentine was a really popular name. It was like, Philip. So there's if you look at the roster of Catholic saints, by the way, you should go do that. If you have any ailment, like I see, just go and put elbow, and there's a patron saint of the elbow. I mean, it is fascinating. There are a dozen Valentines. The most recently beatified Valentine is Saint Valentine of Berrio. Somebody probably knows Spanish. Spaniard of the Dominican order who traveled to Vietnam, where he served as bishop until his beheading in 1861. Pope John Paul II canonized him in 1988. So that's the most recent. There's even a Pope Valentine, and I'll try to find more about him, but he literally served 40 days. He must not have been in good health or something, in 827. So Saint Valentine, you have to clarify which Saint Valentine we're talking about. So which Valentine's Day? Because of the abundance of Valentines, you can choose to celebrate whichever Valentine's Day you want to. You might want to choose to celebrate Saint Valentine of Raeta on January 7th for convulsions or cramps. You have that. Women might choose to honor the only female Saint Valentine, or Valentina, a virgin martyred in Palestine on July 25th. So we can do that, Saint Valentina's Day. The Eastern Orthodox Church officially celebrates St. Valentine's twice, because again, there's lots of them. Once as an elder of the church on July 6th, and once as a martyr on July 3rd. Neither of those are the sweetheart St. Valentine. So, next one. Okay, so St. Valentine's at work. So this St. Valentine that we're talking about, the OG St. Valentine, they are supposed to keep busy in the afterlife. And their holy duties include interceding in earthly affairs and entertaining petitions from living souls, hence the praying about your elbow. In this respect, St. Valentine has a wide range of spiritual responsibilities. People call on the Saint Valentine of Valentine's Day with the hearts and the love. Also is the Valentine of beekeeping. He is the Valentine of epilepsy. He is the Valentine of the plague. He is the Valentine of fainting. And he is also the Valentine of traveling. So you can call on Saint Valentine if you happen to be a beekeeper and ask for help, or if you fainted. So those are the other things that our Valentine's Day of love can help you with. He's also the patron saint of engaged couples and happy marriages. So, yeah.
I thought Saint Christopher was the god of travel, the saint of travel.
There's a lot of them. It depends. I mean, you could put, it is, I mean, so go to Catholic Online. It's a website. I can show you at the end if we have time. It is crazy. It's crazy. Like literally anything you want something for, you can find a saint that you can pray to. Probably 2 or 3. Yeah, next one. Okay, so where is he now? In the early 1800s, the excavated catacomb near Rome yielded skeletal remains and other relics now associated with Saint Valentine. Isn't it crazy that they, it's probably not, but, as is customary, these bits and pieces of the late saint's body were, given to all the churches so that everybody could come and pray to them. And let's see, the flower-adorned skull of Saint Valentine is on display at the Basilica of Santa Maria in Rome. So if y'all are ever in Rome, you can go see this. It looks just like that. That's the skeleton of Saint Valentine. Friar John Spratt received this from Pope Gregory in 1836, containing a small vessel tinged with Saint Valentine's blood. This gift now is on Right Friar Street Church in Dublin, Ireland. So if you're in Dublin, you can go see a little vial of Saint Valentine's blood. And then you can also find other bits and pieces in the Czech Republic, Ireland, Scotland, England, and France. So if you're traveling and want to go venerate Saint Valentine, there's probably a piece of him somewhere in Europe. You can go look at. If you want to see the head of him, you got to go to Rome. But why Saint Valentine's Day? So some claim that the Christian Church decided to place the Saint Valentine's Day feast in the middle of February in an effort to Christianize the pagan celebration of Lupercalia. This is, I mean, this is a classic Christian move. And this is why we celebrate Christmas on December 25th. We're trying to like take over a pagan holiday and make people forget that they used to celebrate something by celebrating something even better. And we're gonna watch a video about Lupercalia because it's a pagan holiday, which is crazy and fascinating. But later in the day, according to legend, I'm gonna give you a little preview of the video. According to legend, all the young women in the city would place their names in a big urn. The city's bachelors would choose a name and become paired for the year with his or her chosen woman. These matches often ended in marriage. This was kind of the idea that like, when they used to do duels and you would go give a rose to somebody and that person was supposed to cheer for you during the duel. It wasn't like a love match. It was just kind of like this matching was supposed to be like the woman was supposed to be your like supporter for the year, but sometimes it ended in marriage. Lupercalia, I don't know how to pronounce that, survived the initial rise of Christianity, but was outlawed and deemed unchristian at the end of the 5th century. When the Pope declared that February 14th was not Lupercalia, but Valentine's Day. It was not much later, however, that it became definitively associated with love. So we can watch this video. If you click right there, you see on the right, yeah. Yeah, and then just push play.
The Lupercalia was an ancient Roman festival which took place on the 15th of February around the Palatine Hill in Rome. Its main ingredients included blood, milk, flour, salt and wool, and some curious whips made out of goat skin. The proceedings began at the cave called the Lupercal. This was the spot where the she-wolf was said to have nourished Romulus and Remus. On the day of the Lupercalia, a group of chosen men and boys assembled at the cave. These were the Luperci, an ancient priestly brotherhood. Things got going with an animal sacrifice. A goat, maybe more than one, and sometimes a dog too. The animals were sprinkled with mola salsa, a mixture of flour and salt that was made by the Vestal virgins for use in Roman rituals. Then they were killed, and a knife was dipped in their blood before being passed over the foreheads of 2 of the young men. The blood was wiped off with wool soaked in milk. The goats' hides were then taken off and cut into strips. Some of these were used as loincloths for the Luperci, but others were made into whips. Then there was a big feast. After the feast, the Luperci left the cave, ran around the Palatine wearing their goatskin loincloths and waving their goatskin whips. As they ran, they lashed out at people who had gathered for the occasion. The goatskin whips were thought to bring fertility, so the crowd included women who wanted to become pregnant. But the festival had other aims too. February was the month of purification, and the goatskin whips were sometimes called februa, or purifying tools. So the Lupercalia was about cleansing the city and community, and also about providing reminders of its legendary origins. Who knows what happened to the goatskins after the festival was over? Were they burnt, or maybe saved as a kind of relic or souvenir? Next February, the festival would happen all over again, and it would be the turn of another goat to help bring fertility and purity to the Roman people.
So you can see why the Catholic Church did not love, no pun intended, this ritual. It was a purity of the city. It was also purity for women. There was also this idea that it could help with fertility. It doesn't mention it in the video, but I did read it, like I said, about where women would put their names in the urn to be selected to be the supporter of one of these gentlemen for the year. And you know, as the Christian church was arising, they were trying to get rid of things like this. And so they had to come up with something else to replace it, to make people stop celebrating this and start celebrating something else. So they decided they would do Valentine's Day the day before this. And we'll get to what that, hold on, I think sorry, I gotta catch up to where we are here. Okay, we can go next. Okay, so but why St. Valentine's Day? Oh no, we already did this one. Yep, sorry, one more, next. Yeah, there we go. During the Middle Ages, it was commonly believed in France and England that February 14th was the beginning of the birds' mating season, which added to the idea that the Valentine's Day should be a day for romance. Why February 14th, I'm not sure. But in England and France, that's the day they decided that the birds started mating. So again, we get that love birds from this. No record exists of romantic celebrations on Valentine's Day prior to a poem Chaucer wrote in 1375. So I should say, when we go back to the Roman holiday, that was the feast of Saint Valentine, which had nothing to do with love at all. So it was just the feast of Saint Valentine. It was a big celebration, and it wasn't until the Middle Ages that it becomes a Valentine-y thing. Although Saint Valentine was the patron saint of engaged couples, there was that, but that wasn't like the main focus of the feast. So no record exists of romantic celebrations on Valentine's Day prior to a poem Chaucer wrote about 1375. In his work called Parliament of Fowls, he links the tradition of avian love with the celebration of the St. Valentine's Day feast, an association that didn't exist before the poem was read or gave widespread attention. The poem refers to February 14th as the first day of the spring and the day birds and humans come together to find a mate. When Chaucer wrote, "For this was sent on St. Valentine's Day, what every fowl cometh to there to choose his mate." So that's kind of where this idea of Valentine's and love and mating comes into play, is from Chaucer. So they say. This may have invented the holiday we know today. Next one. Okay, so Valentine, okay, yes, can you see this? Right there. Okay, so this is another thing we should talk about. So Valentine's greetings were popular starting in the Middle Ages, though written Valentine didn't begin to appear until 1400. Until recently, it was thought that the oldest known Valentine still in existence was a poem written in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London following his capture. However, in addition to not being penned while he was in prison, it was not in fact written to his wife. Despite being addressed to "my very sweet Valentine," the poem is not a personal message of affection like today's Valentine's card. It actually refers to the courtly practice of holding a lottery on St. Valentine's Day, in which everyone was assigned a partner. And this kind of goes back to the Lupercalia that we were talking about. Generally not the husband or wife who was supposed to be their Valentine for the year. This was a rather artificial enactment of the concept of courtly love in which knights were supposed to devote themselves to the service of a married lady. Again, it's like the knight becomes your patron for the year. In the poem, Charles excuses himself from the custom, apologetically telling his allotted Valentine that he is too old and tired. So, I can't read it, but this is the poem, and so it says, you know, he's writing to the woman that he's supposed to be the knight for. He's saying, I can't be your Valentine because I'm too old and tired. So it wasn't written to his wife, but it was written to his Valentine for that year. By the end of the 15th century, the word Valentine was being used to describe lover in poems and songs for the day. So by the end of the 15th century, we've gotten to the point that Valentine's Day is the holiday of love and relationships. And we are getting now into actual real Valentine cards. In the 18th century, a book called The Young Man's Valentine Writer was published, in which it helped young men craft poems and odes to their love. So you can still find it. It is fascinating. You should go read it. It helps gentlemen who might not otherwise be as eloquent tell their lady friends how much they love them in Valentine's. Because most of the Valentines at this point were handwritten, not like today where you go to the Target and buy a card. And by the mid-19th century, mass-produced paper Valentine's cards were being created, and Valentine's, as we know it, was born. So this one is one of the, like, this is how they used to be when they were hand-drawn. This is the little Valentine you would write, and you would hand-draw it, and you would write it. And then this one here is the first mass-produced Valentine card in the United States. It was produced in New Hampshire by a lady who started a small cottage industry making these. And it's turned into a huge business. And it says Cupid, his wing is the fan of a lady, his foot's is an invisible thing, and his arrows is tipped with a jewel and shot from a silver string. So, and then these are like hand cut little paper Valentines. So they were a lot more beautiful and keepsakes than a lot of the Valentines we have today. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't did it go to the next one? I'll show you yeah. So does anybody have any questions about Saint Valentine, Valentine's Day? Does it make you want to celebrate it more or less?
Just a quick idea.
Yeah.
Do we know the year of the Valentine that it was in England? Because I wondered, we know the relationship of putting Christmas cards.
Right.
Was it about 1850, I think.
Yeah.
So was this before Christmas cards or?
No, it was right around the same time. I mean, they kind of came up at the same, you mean handwritten or mass?
Mass produced.
Oh, yeah, they all came up like right at the same time. Obviously, anything you can do like that is a money-making venture. They're gonna take advantage of it. So, yeah. Yeah.
Mayor Margaret, my question is, if we forget Valentine's on February 14th, can we say we're celebrating one of these other Valentines?
Yeah, exactly.
Up in July.
Exactly. Exactly. Or you can just get some red paint and do the thing,
Yeah.
like celebrate it on the 15th and forget it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
On that, because the liver cow, the theater
Yeah.
piece, the
Thank you for
fertility
announcing
piece.
it correctly.
Well, history of the theater, that's recognized as one of the origins of theater.
Oh,
Because they would
really?
Act out those, every year they would act out those scenes.
Oh, really? That's cool. Good to know.
Say the name again.
The Lupercal.
Lupercalia, yeah, the Lupercal. Going back, they would go back to the Palatine Hill where Romulus and Remus were. All goes back to Romulus and Remus for Rome. But it is interesting, I think, how the Christian church kind of that's as we should, I think, or as they should, make the focus be on the faith of God and not these pagan holidays, but we just kind of usurp them and make them our own. Okay, so anybody else with Valentine's Day? I don't know, nor can I find, other than the heart thing, that thing about in the video about how Valentine would cut out hearts. I mean, maybe, probably not. But, obviously the heart with a Valentine, and now that when we see a heart, we think Valentine, but it just, with the symbolism is all obviously love. I looked up Cupid, where Cupid came from, and it's very tenuous and it's kind of, it doesn't have anything to do with Valentine itself. We've kind of put two things together there. And so I didn't go into depth with Cupid. I just couldn't figure out where Cupid came from. It's kind of out of nowhere. But I did love the idea of the birds, that February 14th was the day that the birds started mating, and that's kind of, and of course, Chaucer's poem bringing that together for us. Okay, so I did pick two other famous saints, I don't know what time it is, to go through quickly. Okay, oh, we have plenty. Okay, first one is the next holiday, which is Saint Patrick. We all know about St. Patrick. I'm sure most people know more about St. Patrick than they do about St. Valentine. Patrick arrived in Slane, Ireland on March 25th, and there's a bazillion St. Patricks, but there's no disagreement about who this St. Patrick was. I mean, he was a person, not an amalgamation of people. There's several legends about what happens next, but the most prominent claiming he married met a chieftain, one of the Druid tribes who tried to kill him. And after an intervention from God, Patrick was able to convert him. This is the common theme among like a lot of these early saints. They converted these Roman pagan other people into Christianity, and preached the gospel throughout Ireland. There he converted many people, eventually thousands. He began to build churches across the country. Often he used shamrocks to explain the Holy Trinity, and the entire kingdoms were eventually converted to Christianity. So Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they're one. Which is a really good, I mean, it's really good. It's very easy for young people or people who don't know, but if I'll come teach you the Trinity, it's a lot more complicated than that. Patrick preached and converted all of Ireland for 40 years. He worked many miracles and wrote of his love for God in confessions. After years of living, he traveled and died on March 17th, 461, hence celebrating St. Patrick's Day in March. He died in Saul, and he's believed to be buried in Down Cathedral, Downpatrick. His grave was marked in 1990 with a granite stone. Has anybody been there to St. Patrick's? Well, if you want to go to Down Cathedral in Downpatrick, Ireland, you can see where he's buried. And it's interesting, I thought that the grave wasn't marked until 1990. It took that long. That's one of the major saints that we celebrate. Again, St. Patrick's Day has not become, for obvious reasons, the commercial holiday that St. Valentine's Day has. But still a fun day. You can go get some green beer somewhere probably. I encourage you to go to Chicago for St. Patrick's Day sometime. It's really fun to see the river dyed green. Next one. And the next one I picked only because we have this church in Charlotte, and I'm always fascinated by why we pick the name. The Catholic churches pick the name. So Saint Gabriel was an angel who serves as a messenger for God to certain people. He's one of the three archangels. Gabriel's mentioned in both the Old and New Testament. In the Old Testament, Gabriel appears to the prophet Daniel and explains his visions. And Gabriel is described as one who looked like a man who interpreted Daniel's visions. In the New Testament, Gabriel is described as an angel of the Lord. He appears to Zacharias, father of John the Baptist. And he's the one who tells him, "Fear not, Zacharias, for I've heard your prayer, and you and Elizabeth are going to have a son, and you should call him John." And after Elizabeth conceived, Gabriel appears again in the book of Luke. He states that he was sent by God to Nazareth to visit the Virgin Mary. Visit a virgin married to a man named Joseph. And he said to Mary, "Hail, thou art highly favored, the Lord is with thee, blessed thou art among women." After the Annunciation of Mary, Gabriel is not spoken of again. This Saint Gabriel is interesting because there is no record of him actually being a human. He's only an angel. And so he is beatified as an angel, not as a human. Like the vast majority of saints are human saints that were later beatified for some miracle. I guess he started out as a saint. If you're an angel, you're automatically a saint. But you know, there are lots of saints like that who were not lots. There's a few saints. Any of the angels you see started out not as human. Those are the only, yeah.
So is there a Saint Gabriel Day? that the Catholic Church.
Oh, I didn't look that up. We should
There
look
was
that up.
like, what?
Is there a
Saint
Saint
Gabriel
Gabriel Day
Let's look. I'm gonna look it up.
every day? Every day.
How about what's St. Gabriel's cause?
Let's look. I'm on Catholic Online. We'll see. Saint Gabriel.
Gabriel was the statue of God.
Who are, you said there's three archangels, who are the other archangels? What does it mean to be an archangel?
Yeah, again, it doesn't, Jesus, God, the Bible does not just give a job description for an archangel. It's interesting, there were three of them with the Trinity, maybe each one was assigned to one of the, I don't know. So the Gabriel Archangel is the angel of ambassadors, is the saint for ambassadors and the Argentinian. You're Argentinian. He's also the saint for broadcasters. Communication workers, diplomats, messengers, postal service workers. Yeah. Stamp collectors. And television workers. Yeah, so, yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, anything. That's all the ones I did because I wanted, oh yeah, go ahead.
The other archangels,
Uh-huh,
one is Michael.
yes,
And the other one, I believe, is Lucifer.
it is, yeah. The fallen angel. I wanted to leave, thank you for that, because I lost track of that question, yeah. I wanted to leave time for y'all to give me, I have it up online here. An angel, a saint that you've heard of, and I will look them up and tell you what they're the patron saint of, and I also looked up Saint Anne's, because I know that was a big saint. There are very few records of Saint Anne, even in Catholic Online, and the ones that exist, she is very, they think that she was the mother of Mary. Well, it's said that Anne was the mother of Mary, and that Mary was born, so if you're a Catholic and you have heard of the Immaculate Conception, the Immaculate Conception has nothing to do with Jesus. It is Mary being born without sin. So Mary, the Immaculate Conception is the conception of Mary. So the idea is that Mary is born without sin, and then that thus is passed on to Jesus. Because if Mary had sin and she's the mother of Jesus, then she automatically, as we all women do, pass our sins on to our children. Mary did not do that because she was born without sin. So the Immaculate Conception refers to Mary. So then therefore Anne, Mary's mother, has to be special too. And so Saint Anne is Mary's mother. And that is what she did. Like she didn't perform any miracles other than giving birth to Mary, which is a miracle, I guess. But she is also a saint, but there's not a lot about her. We don't know a lot about her life. But I did look that one up. Yeah.
One of my favorite stories is Saint Joseph, to sell your real estate, you go to bury Saint Joseph statue upside down in your yard.
Oh.
Selling real estate. So I never heard of this, but I have a family that are Catholic. And so I couldn't sell my house when I was in Chicago. It's taken a while. And so my sister-in-law gave me her families. It had been like 50 years to go around. Finally, the house sold, but they didn't want to take the sign out for a while. And then they took the sign out and we didn't close for a while. And by the time we closed, we couldn't find Joseph. My sister-in-law has forgiven me for not returning her little Saint Joseph.
Oh, no. Well, now that house will always sell.
Yeah.
Another miracle.
Yeah, I know.
So when we were in Jerusalem the last time, we visited the Church of Saint Anne, and it's on the same grounds as the pools of Bethsaida.
Oh.
And some of you, I'm trying to picture, yeah, Nightengers and Losers were there, which is the first time we saw, but there's a lot of information on
Really?
her.
Are there relics there? I can't imagine there are.
Relics there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those biblical saints probably don't have, I mean, there's supposedly, I've been to, when I was in Damascus in Syria, there's a mosque in Damascus that supposedly the head of, John the Baptist is there. And so that's where he is.
Yes.
If you.
When we were in Nazareth, we saw the very rock that Mary was sitting on when.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Appeared to her and
Yeah,
the Annunciation told her she was going.
she just etched in there, Mary was here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's look. I don't.
As I recall, he's the saying of lost causes. And also, if you lose something, you can say, let's say a little prayer to St. Anthony, basically.
Can I say the
saint?
verse?
Uh,
St. Anthony, please come around,
Okay.
something's lost and can't be found.
Yeah.
It was, can't use it too
Well, yeah, only on real.
Maybe should have done it.
Oh, yeah, so, and just, if you happen to be praying, I just looked this up, if you happen, and that's Anthony of Padua, Padua is the Anthony, there's several other Anthonys, just that's the Anthony that you want to talk to. Anthony of Padua also is the, patron saint of Native Americans, amputees, barren women, elderly people. Let's
They're all lost.
hermits, hogs, pigs, the male, oppressed people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, shipwrecks, I think, yeah, things that are lost. Travel hostesses. Yeah,
Was Saint Patrick, the one that got rid of the snakes in Ireland?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he like drove the snakes out of Ireland. He's also, let's see, Patrick is also the patron saint of snakes, fear of snakes. So he is the patron saint of fear of snakes. Yeah.
Have the leprechauns get involved in all?
No idea. That, no, I do kind of know that. It's like an Irish, like, I mean, legend, like a very Celtic thing to have these little fairies and, you know, everything.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I was raised an Episcopalian, and we were married in St. John's Episcopal Church, and there's so many Episcopal churches named after saints.
Yeah.
Yet growing up as an Episcopalian, they were never talked about, you know, it was.
What I think, and I might be wrong here, but what I think is the Episcopals or Anglican Church of England recognizes biblical saints. So like Saint John, Saint Peter, Saint Paul,
St. Anne's.
Saint Anne, but any post-biblical people are not be able to be sainted or beatified. So you couldn't have a Saint Patrick, well, yeah, or a Saint Valentine, or, you know, it's only biblical saints, people that were associated with Jesus directly or, yeah.
Well, I'm a member of the Order of Saint Barbara.
Oh, nice. What is she?
It's the patron saint of field artillerymen.
Really? Field artillery, yes. Also bomb technicians and brass workers. Firemen, only in Italy. Only in Italy is Barbara the patron saint of firemen. Fortifications, gunners, yeah. Marines, only in Italy are they the patron saint of Marines. Military engineers. Protection against mine collapses, Saint Barbara, so there's that.
John, who was Saint Barbara? I mean,
Sorry?
who was Saint Barbara? Do you know, is that part of this? What?
It was just something that, you know, that all the artillerymen would be brought into, they get a little medal that they hang around your neck and stuff, I still have it.
It says Barbara was the daughter of a rich pagan. After the death of Barbara's mother, this Diocorus, her father, dedicated his life only to his daughter. She was known for being extremely beautiful, and as a way of protecting her and shielding her from the world, he locked her up within a tower. Kind of sounds like, yeah, and only allowed her pagan teachers to see her. Barbara spent her days gazing upon the hills and admiring all of God's creation. She even pondered the first cause and creator of so harmonious and splendid a world. She soon realized the idols her fathers and teachers worshipped were not of God's creation, and she secretly became a Christian, dedicating her life to knowing the true God and making him known to others. Let's see how she got to be artillery. She refused all men that her father wanted to have her marry. She eventually left the tower. She disguised herself as a merchant and went to get herself baptized. While she was out exploring, she, Then her father built a bathhouse for her, hoping she would come back, which she did, and then she performed miracles in the bathhouse.
That's why we got killed with that lights.
Then they got caught, she got caught doing this, her father beat her, and she and another woman were injured with rakes and hooks and led naked through the streets. Barbara prayed to an angel and covered the pair with a robe and torches. Let's see, after Barbara prayed, an angel came and covered the pair with a robe and torches used to burn Barbara went out, and they came near to her. Finally, Barbara was condemned to death by beheading by her father. Her martyrdom took place on December 4th. Seen as a punishment for their actions, her father and the other guy were both killed after being struck by lightning. Yeah. Yeah, she's not on the Journal Roman calendar anymore, but she's still listed as a saint.
It says this is also a feast day for her in
Yeah.
Episcopal Church,
Today?
November 24th.
Oh, yeah.
So it is.
Yeah.
Anybody who walks the Camino, there's Saint, the Apostle Saint James. So, and his relics are supposed to be in Santiago de Compostela. So when you injure Camino in Santiago, you go,
Yeah.
behind the statue of Saint James, and down in the basement are his bones.
I think the saints are fascinating. I mean, the idea that people, you think about people in our lifetime who might have been, a lot of people would say that had we been like, Martin Luther King might have been a saint or might be a saint at some point.
It's interesting. He's on Westminster, in England, he's on the cathedral.
Yeah.
Now, I was amazed when I saw it. Oh.
Yeah, but they don't, at least modern day saints don't tend to, or not that I've heard of, although the Catholic Church would argue with me, perform miracles like we heard Saint Valentine, relieving the blindness of that little girl. I mean, that's just not. So I have a hard time. This is where my faith falls apart, is believing those kind of miraculous things. But if I believe they happened in the Bible, why couldn't they happen today? I don't know. But I mean, obviously we're not a saint supporting church. Yeah.
I just happened to Google my name, Saint.
Yeah.
Saint Ryan.
Oh, yeah. There's some Irish Saint Ryans, I'm sure.
But it's RHIAN and says Welsh abbot, and he's virtually unknown other than his feast day, March the 8th, which is commemorated in Ryan, Pembrokeshire. He's the patron saint of lovers, beekeepers, epilepsy, fainting, and the plague.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said. Like you
I
won't,
thought that was.
it's,
But that's from Wikipedia, so it may not be accurate.
well, and there's only so many things you can be patron saint of, right? Ryan doesn't show up in my Catholic online, but that doesn't mean that it's not, maybe it's just spared.
Well, and Catholic Online said it's virtually unknown
Right.
on March 8th.
Right.
So maybe Wikipedia gets it wrong, but it's funny to look up your name, your name.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking to my parents, I have very good saintly names, Mary and Margaret. Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
Yeah.
I just think, can you do it the other way? See, my shoulder's been
Yeah,
bothering
you
me.
can.
And so I want to know which saint I should pray to.
Yes, you can. Let's see. I'm gonna look at the shoulder.
Saint ibuprofen.
I know. And it's the right shoulder.
Saint Benjamin.
It is really fascinating. Let's see. Patron saint, Saint Paulinus is who you should be.
So today looks like Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes.
Yes. And yes, so good point, Gerald. Today's Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes, who I think we all know, Lourdes, the woman who has the fountain or the. There's a feast day, there's a saint for every day, pretty much, and sometimes several saints. So I really encourage, go to Catholic Online, look up your shoulder or look up the day and they'll tell you all about the saints. Some of them, like St. Patrick, St. Gabriel, St. Valentine, there's a lot of information out. And then some of them, like St. Ryan, there's very little information for. But it is fascinating and you know, for those Catholics for whom this is a part of their practice, that it really, you know, just kind of like the sale of the house thing, you really feel like it makes a difference. And I guess for those of us who are Protestant, at least for me, I'm like, it doesn't hurt. I certainly don't believe in saints. I certainly believe there are some people who live better lives, certainly than myself. Are they given any special treatment in heaven? I don't think so, but again, I won't know the answer to that question until I get there. Sorry, one second.
One of the misconceptions I had of Catholicism growing up in a kind of fundy denomination was that this was idolatry and that these people worshipped Saint Mary and that's why Catholics weren't Christians.
Right.
And in art history in college, I had a really great explanation by an art history professor who was not herself Catholic, but who explained that if I was really close to Uncle Bob and Uncle Bob had died and was with Jesus in heaven, that Uncle Bob would probably be able to put a good word in Jesus' ear for me.
Right.
And that's kind of the very
Yeah.
elementary understanding of why people pray to saints, but it's really more like appealing to a saint to petition on your behalf.
Right, yeah.
To Jesus.
And the, obviously.
Rather
for
than
the
worshiping
Protestant-
the saint.
Yeah, and that's, and the Protestant counter to that would be,
Why would you?
Jesus came so that we can go straight to God. We don't have to get, and hence not having the Pope and all of that. And so, but again, you know, having more people on your side. It can't hurt. Yeah, Diane, sorry.
My son's best friend was a Catholic and his wife was Catholic as well. And they had 7 children. They may have more now.
Yeah.
Last I looked, 7. And every child is named for a saint.
Yeah.
Every single one. And my son always thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. A lot of parents do that. And at least my Catholic friends, you get a saint name when you get baptized. So you get like your name is whatever, Mary Margaret Porter, but then when you get baptized, you become Mary Margaret Catherine Porter and your patron saint is Catherine. And they pick somebody that's either family or something that they want for their child, wealth or success or whatever. So yeah, it's fascinating.
I thought that saints also, I mean, one of the criteria was the stigmata.
Yeah. I don't know that that's true anymore. I think if you go look online, I think they have to perform 3 miracles.
Like, Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
Her name is Saint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be the stigmata, but I think now I don't know, you have to perform 3 miracles, you have to be dead by a certain time.
Tell us what the stigmata is.
Oh, so the stigmata is, for those, it's, it has been said that people who are holy or saintly, it is visualized by the fact that they get marks on their palms and in their ankles and on their forehead like Jesus did. And they miraculously appear as some sort of bruising or bleeding or weird things. And so that's how the kind of visual representation of a saint is. At some point in their life, they receive the stigmata, which is like God saying, like, in visual form, this person is.
And is it Peter
Almost
that
as
always has the, like if you go to a cathedral in another country and they have this representation?
Yes.
Is it Peter that always has
I
the,
think so.
the stigma?
And there's like, there's relics that supposedly that they have that bleed or weep, and so you can go see them and they're actually like actively bleeding. I'm such a skeptic.
St. Valentine tainted blood.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Or the blood from that other holiday, yeah.
You know, a word about miracles, I think miracles are usually in the eyes of the beholder.
Right. And we can think of modern medicine as a miracle, the fact that we were able to come up with some of the things that we've been able to solve, I think is correct.
Wake Forest once played in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
The daughter of a Presbyterian minister, Karen Wright Marsh is her name, and she wrote a book called Vintage Saints and Sinners. And so she retraced her faith path through some of the ancient saints, as well as some modern saints. It's a very interesting look at how, anybody like C.S. Lewis affected her faith.
Right.
So she's looking at saints as people who affected and built her
Right.
faith by their story or their actions.
Not somebody necessarily to venerate, but somebody who
But some of them are.
Yeah.
Saint Francis, traditional saints.
Right.
Kind of interesting look.
Yeah.
About who affects you that way.
Yeah.
You know, think about Mary too, when we were, so I was talking about being in Nazareth and going to that cathedral of St. Mary. And all the, every country, every country or every, I don't know, who it was that had sent statue of, they're all over there. Is that the, yeah. And there were people, a lot of Asian women were there just in tears, weeping and
Really?
wailing, worshiping her and everything. It was really a thing.
Yeah, Mary is obviously the most venerated of the Catholic saints because of her, being the mother of Jesus and, Hail Mary, full of grace, like all the whole, that's, she's the main one. I appreciate, those we Protestants don't give Mary enough credit. Yeah,
We
exactly.
can talk about St. Nicholas later, like another time.
Yeah, we should do St. Nicholas around Christmas because he's fascinating too.
Yeah. The thing that has struck me about this is that, you can go and, any ailment, I've got a bunion, so I'm sure there's somebody. It makes me wonder what motivates that. I mean, and it seems to me that there's this a little bit of you need to trust someone, so you need to have confidence.
Right.
That someone has your back, or
Right.
or that there's somebody to whom you can pray on behalf of
Right.
artillery men.
Right. Well, it's kind of to Brian's point about like someone interceding for you, like you think, oh, this is too small for God, or God's not too busy for this, but I can always go to Saint Gabriel and ask, or Saint whatever, Barbara. And they, I know they care about this because they're the saint of it, so they have to listen to me.
More reachable, more something.
Yeah, it's like going to the sub boss. You don't go to the boss, you go to his, any more questions? Okay, so next week it's like really changing, we're turning the page and it's gonna be completely different. It's Messianic Judaism, and it's, again, like I said, it's fascinating. I hope y'all can come because there's a lot to unpack with Messianic Judaism. And it leads into Zionism, interestingly. So I'll leave you at the end of next week, ready for the next Sunday to talk about Zionism, which is also very heavy, and I'm glad I don't have to teach it.
But thank you.
Yeah.